It's happening. Everybody stay calm.
What's the
Everybody
procedure,
stay calm.
everyone? What's the procedure?
Stay calm.
Wait.
Everybody just calm down.
All right, someone hit the red button, panic button. Here we go. It is emergency podcast time. It's just me, Kevin, KT Turner, with Jon Machota. Jon Machota, who is reporting, of course, that the Dallas Cowboys signed CeeDee Lamb to a 4-year, $136 million deal that includes a big old $36 million signing bonus. So CeeDee Lamb gets done after all of this noise on August 26th. Jon, your thoughts?
I mean, it's, from being at training camp, it's not that much of a surprise just because we get access to Jerry Jones on and off the record. And I know that this is going to sound crazy to some people, but I really think that the only reason it didn't get done at the start of camp is because I don't think Jerry even wanted to see CeeDee potentially get hurt in a training camp practice. He knew he was going to play in the preseason, but it was really just, it just like, it looks like that, that's why, so Jerry says, here's a good example. Jerry talks about like not having a sense of urgency because Jerry knew what the parameters were and he always was going to get this thing done before week 1. And so to CeeDee, of course, he's going to, he was annoyed by that. He sends the tweet, LOL, because he sees a sense of urgency. CeeDee wants to be out there. He wants to be with his teammates. So I'm telling you, the Cowboys aren't run like most organizations. Because the reason why I'm saying this too is like, are there anything about those contract details that you think would have been any different than they got done right before camp started?
No.
The Justin Jefferson deal was the leave that fell that said it. CeeDee had been very open before, this was like after the season ended, that he doesn't need to be the highest paid. He wanted to be one of. So you knew after all these other Amon St. Brown, A.J. Brown contracts got done, you knew what the parameters were. And so it's not like this. If this number had come out and been something that like really surprised us, it'd be different. But now that we see what happened, it looks like this was just the plan all along. That Jerry didn't want to see CeeDee Lamb out at training camp. Now there's less than 2 weeks. He has time to ramp up and get ready and be out there week 1 against Cleveland. And like I said, I think most teams and coaches, I'm sure Mike McCarthy, we're going to talk to him a little bit later today. I'm sure he would rather CeeDee be in all at training camp and give him veteran days off and things like that to rest him and do things like that. But like, I just really got the sense being out in Oxnard for 5 weeks that Jerry Jones really didn't want to see CeeDee Lamb at camp, that he was just fine with, hey, I know he's working out on his own. We'll get this thing figured out. He'll be out there week 1.
I think it's one of those things, too, where it's just because it's the Cowboys and because it's Jerry Jones, it's just more just stuff to talk about. And it becomes
one other
like
part real
traffic.
Quick. But there is one other additional thing I need to add in there, too. Because of that, it allowed Dak to work with a lot of these other receivers that maybe he doesn't get as many reps with. The Jalen Tolberts, the Jalen Brookses, Ryan Flournoy got time in Oxnard with the ones and stuff like that. So that's a part of it too. You know what I'm saying? That what you have in Brandon Cooks, you have CeeDee Lamb, but this gives more opportunity to some of the other young receivers to work with Dak as well.
If the Cowboys' plan was to do this and we have our numbers set and we kind of know we'll get there because they didn't want him getting hurt in practice or preseason, I 100% agree with that. Like it just bums me out when I see injuries happen in preseason games that don't matter, that end up impacting the team in a negative way. Once the season goes, and it's kind of like we were talking about on our previous podcast. I think the point I was trying to get to with the Carl Lawson signing and the trade for Jordan Phillips and Linval Joseph, like we don't know how much those are really going to help, but because you make those moves in August rather than making them in March when everyone else does, people are louder about their angst towards you, when in theory you might have saved a little money by signing these guys and making these moves in August, maybe. And by doing this here, it doesn't matter. Like, it really doesn't matter. It's kind of what we knew. We knew it was going to get done. For details, is that $100 million guaranteed? Have you seen that? That's been going around. So one, Justin Jefferson's deal was 4 at 140, 110 million guaranteed. CeeDee 4 at 136 with 100 million guaranteed. I mean, everyone's got to be happy with that, I would imagine. And I'm a little surprised they didn't have to go over the Justin Jefferson line there, to be honest. Justin Jefferson was hurt last year. CeeDee Lamb, if you look at his numbers and you put them up, you've got a piece up at The Athletic. You look at that incremental increase each year, and we know once again the offense is running through him and Dak. I mean, who's to say he doesn't have 150 catches? It's possible. Like, it's very possible. Like, I think it's a win for everyone, man. I really do. I'm sure there's some people scoffing that it's too much money, but that is what you pay for a guy like CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, no, that's the money. I don't think that was just a going price. What do you not want him then? What do you want to trade him then?
Yeah.
He was getting that money. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to trade him somewhere else? Who knows what you can get in return? And whatever you get in return, are you going to feel better about that than giving CeeDee Lamb the second highest paid wide receiver money, and which will probably end up being third when Jamar Chase signs his deal? And so because of that, no, the money shouldn't bother you. I mean, to be honest with you, this is a team that doesn't do much in free agency. They're all about re-signing their own. So this is one of your own top players for 4 years, has done everything you've asked of him. So he's worthy of the contract. Even if you think it's too much, well, that's the price of playing ball. So the only way that this could be a negative would be if CD comes back, there's, ramps in his ramp up process, he suffers some type of a soft tissue injury setback or something like that, because hey, working out on your own is one thing, working out in team, like actual, in the team environment, going against other guys and stuff like that is going to be a lot different. Sure. And so because of that, if he was to suffer some type of setback because of that, I'm sure you could look at this and be critical, like, well, that's why he needed to be at training camp. But as long as that doesn't happen and he's out there week one, then I don't. There's no harm, no foul as far as I'm concerned. I mean, well, there is. Hold on. Let me be selfish. CeeDee Lamb being at this camp practice would have helped out big time with the videos. Okay.
Yeah, for
sure.
There
were multiple days when I'm there and I'm like, we really could use an 88 highlight that we just weren't getting. There's a lot of guys like, the first round of cuts came out today, and there's guys on there that I'm posting videos of because CD is not there. Guys that I knew weren't going to make the roster, And so there is that part of it. It did hurt on the highlights. I'm sure there's people that went to the training camp practices in Oxnard that would have enjoyed them more if 88 was out there. So let me not act like there was no downside to it. There was a little bit of a downside, but now that he's, back and everything's agreed upon, then as long as he doesn't get hurt and he's there week one, I think everything works itself out.
Okay, I have two things I want to throw at you real quick. What do you say to the Cowboys fan that said the Cowboys negotiated against themselves by not getting this done in March? Because there are people who do think that.
Yeah, no, you can be critical of the Cowboys for not getting it done in March. There's no question. Honestly, I think it doesn't get done in March because I think Jerry was still frustrated with the way the season ended, and I don't think he wanted to do any moves. I don't think he wanted to do anything. But yeah, he probably should have done it back then. But it seemed like they were going to wait on the Jefferson thing, and then we're going to do something right after that. So I thought maybe after Jefferson's deal got done, it would immediately follow, and that obviously didn't happen. So there's plenty of what happened where you can point and be like, well, this is just Jerry Jones and the Cowboys doing business for sure. The only thing I'll point to is that I don't think it's an issue. Is if he's out there, looks great, and he's playing and looks like the regular CD week one, and him and Dak are on the same page, everything's great, offense is clicking, then I don't think it's that big of a deal. But if there is some rust or there are any setbacks, then yeah, there's going to be a lot of blame to put on the Cowboys for that.
I just ran through the comments on your piece on The Athletic real quick. There's one, so taking the team off his Instagram page actually worked. What a child. Look, if what you're saying is like, this could have been done, but maybe Jerry didn't want it to get done. It's possible that Jerry didn't want it to get done until after the preseason. I kind of love that. And CD's done nothing wrong here either. This is just a game, right? And we all knew this was going to happen. How are we, 13 days till season opener. The elephant in the room, he wears number 4. What do you think? We're getting this done?
I stand by the way I felt going into camp, same way I feel now. Would have been surprised if CD's contract wasn't done before week one. Would be surprised if Dak Prescott's is. Nothing that happened today is a surprise. If they were to get Dak's contract done before that week one game, that would surprise me. And that's I haven't felt like that was going to happen at all. If the CD thing had to get done, let's be honest, he's not around. You run the risk of him holding out to start the season. Dak was always going to play. Dak was at all at training camp. He wasn't going to sit out. That you have Dak, and I've got the feeling, and every day that goes by, the feeling gets stronger. And every day, when I say that, I mean, I'm going back to March. When they didn't get it done right before free agency started, every single day that goes by, it just makes me believe more and more that Jerry just wants him to play this thing out.
Whew. Boy.
He wants to see him play with his back against the wall. He wants to see him, how he operates, in the final year of a deal, final year of potentially being with the Dallas Cowboys. So, no, I mean, I'm not saying that one couldn't get done with Dak. Obviously, it could. I would be surprised if that happens. And if it doesn't get done by week 1, I just don't see it happening before or during the season, because the Cowboys just generally don't do deals during the season.
I wonder how many people just dropped Jalen Tolbert in their fantasy football leagues. Like, oh, no, don't need that backup plan just in case CeeDee doesn't get done. Is there anything else you would like to add about this, John, on this very special emergency edition of the One Star Cowboys podcast?
Not really. I think we hit on everything. I think that we don't have any access today, but they have practices Tuesday and Wednesday are open to fans at the Star, and I think that the fans will be pretty jacked to see 88 back out there. So there'll be some good vibes there with them having a couple open practices, inside the Ford Center. So that's obviously good for the Cowboys. And I just think overall the team morale they'll get a lift from this. No doubt about it. You lose Deron Bland for 4 to 6 weeks, whatever. It's kind of a gut punch, but getting CeeDee Lamb back in the building, know what he can be. I think people will be pretty happy. And while Dak would like a new contract, I think he'll be pretty happy seeing his number 1 receiver back on the field.
Hell yeah. Well, we got it done. 4 at 136, $36 million signing bonus, $100 million guaranteed to number 88, CeeDee Lamb. We will be back a little later in the week. We're going to have an episode that we're going to record on Wednesday morning that involves the Athletics quarterback tiers that have been thrown out there. The roster cut down, as well as that deadline is 3 p.m. tomorrow as we record this on Monday afternoon. And we'll have some other stuff to get to as well. So we'll have another episode of the One Star Cowboys podcast with Kent and Sod in the mix as well. That is Father Jon Machota on the beat over there at The Athletic. Follow him at Jon Machota on Twitter X. And I'm Kevin. Thank you for joining us on this emergency edition. We got it done. Congratulations. Kent's song at the beginning of the last podcast worked. We paid the man. CeeDee Lamb gets his money, and we will hopefully get some wins out of that. All right, we'll talk to you next time on the One Star Cowboys podcast.
We ain't found nothing in 30 years. Only thing we done found out that you got a secret dog.
For over a century, Johnny Walker has shared its bold spirit with the game of golf. Now, crafted with Devereaux Golf, Johnny Walker introduces the Johnny Walker Blue Label-inspired Sunday Golf Bag, elevating the game with sleek design, blue label hues, and refined gold accents. Celebrate your hole-in-one with a premium Sunday bag crafted by Devereaux Golf. Submit proof of your achievement to johnnywalker.com/blue-in-1. Please drink responsibly.